What's up, Meta Nerds? It's Christmas Day for us, so we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And so today, we're going to do a Meta Nerds holiday special. We'll take a look at some canon holidays, and we'll check out some really cool holidays from the EU. So let's get started with the first holiday I remember seeing in Star Wars, which is Boonta Eve. Boonta Eve is held annually on Tatooine, where a festival is held in honor of Boonta Hestelik Shadrew's rise to godhood. Boonta was a Hutt that was said to have attained godhood after he defeated the Parliament of Morillon. Boonta had claimed on that day that he would rather die a slave than be under the control of a human, and went on to defeat Zim the Despot, who had gained control of the planet. The festival has a number of different highlights, and on Boonta Eve, the Hutt slaves would renew their vows and be rewarded with a large feast and festivities. Boonta Eve was actually celebrated on 3 planets, but on Tatooine, there was one big event in particular that was known as the Boonta Eve Classic. The Boonta Eve Classic was the biggest, most dangerous pod race you could enter, and because of its high risks, audience members came from all over to watch this spectacle. The pod races were the largest and most well-known part of the Boonta Eve, until the Hutts lost control of the system, and pod racing was outlawed. Originally, the concept of racing on Boonta Eve came from Boonta the Hutt himself, as he would hold races using captured Tianese prisoners. They would force the prisoners to race, and the ones that fell behind were all executed. Eventually, they didn't use prisoners in the race, but the Hutts continued this tradition and held a pod race every Boonta Eve. You might think that with the pod racing gone, that would be the end of the Boonta Eve, but don't worry, eventually a new race was established called the Boonta Speeder Race. This race was fast-paced and was an attempt by Yanchara the Hutt to increase profits and make an alternative to the pod race, which had more of an appeal to humans. The racetrack was an enclosed, winding tunnel with multiple viewing areas for the audience. So picture some high-speed racing, flying through winding gerbil tunnels 16 kilometers long. Racers would have to take 10 laps in these enclosed transparent tubes, with the first one across the finish line earning all the fame and credits. This sport held open the door for others, and eventually the Boonta Eve was filled with a number of different extreme sports, all for the audience's viewing pleasure. Next up, we have Empire Day. Who doesn't love a good Empire Day? This holiday was established the day that Palpatine declared himself Emperor, and marked the first day of the Galactic Empire. Festivities include parades, the playing of the Imperial Anthem, and the airing of a speech made by Emperor Palpatine the day that the Empire was established. Of course, he had the clip altered, making himself look younger and more likable, so picture something more the lines of Palpatine from Episode 1. And of course, attendance was mandatory, but who wouldn't want to watch the mighty imposer of the military stomping through your town and reminding you who's in power? There's one more detail we can't forget, and that's that Empire Day is also connected with another character, as it's the exact same day that Ezra Bridger celebrates his birthday. And a little fun fact is that there's a real-world connection to this event, as the UK also had an Empire Day, which marked the formation of the British Empire. Carnival Week was an annual, week-long celebration on Coruscant, and although nobody knows when this tradition begins, during the reign of Palpatine, it grew to be an event that included military parades, orbital fireworks, and public executions of the Emperor's political enemies. This celebration drew huge crowds from off-worlders, who saved up their credits all year just to be able to come to this event. Founding Day was celebrated on Alderaan, and it was to celebrate the memory of the founding of the House of Organa, one of Alderaan's most prominent human royal families, which were able to trace their origins back all the way to the original colonization of the planet. Equinox Day was a holiday set to mark the beginning of autumn on the planet Hosnian Prime. Celebrations were marked with sun sail races, light vehicles that glided across the surface of the water, thanks to a sail that captured heat and transformed it into energy. The race was held along a river, where they would glide all day, soaking up the last bits of summer before the transition into fall. Next up is the Festival of Light, which was a Naboo tradition, in which citizens celebrate the anniversary of Naboo joining the Galactic Republic. If you've watched the Clone Wars TV show, you'll remember that the 847th Festival of Light was interrupted when a group of bounty hunters hired by Count Dooku tried to kidnap Senator Palpatine. The Emperor's kidnap was interrupted by the Jedi, and the festivities went on as planned. Coruscant's calendar included 3 Feti weeks, or weeks of celebration. There was the New Year Feti, a celebration that lasted 5 whole days. Another event referred to as the Festival of Light, which were celebrated in the 5 days between the 6th and 7th month. And the final week of celebration was held towards the end of the year, between the 9th and 10th month. The last festival, the Festival of the Stars, celebrated the day that interstellar travel was established on Coruscant. Many use this holiday as a time to try and travel to other worlds, a celebration of their ancestors' technological achievements. Endor also had some awesome festivals, and eventually Endor Day was celebrated to honor the victory of the Battle of Endor, but it also had a holiday called the Festival of Hoods. This festival celebrated the coming of age of many walklings, who were now old enough to wear their own traditional hoods. The day was also used to celebrate the relationship between the Ewoks and the Soul Trees, and the ceremony would begin with the chief and the shaman presenting their hoods to the walklings. A party was held in their honor, and because the Ewoks were known to be a happy people, they celebrated a lot of events, mostly revolving around nature, eating, and the coming of age, as they had days like the Harvest Moon Feast, the Light Festival, the Midsummer Festival, and the Shadow Festival. Once the ceremonies were held, the Ewoks would celebrate the rest of the night by dancing, eating, singing, and relaxing. Endor Day wasn't the only day celebrated by Rebel scum. Another holiday was Liberation Day, which marked the liberation of Coruscant. That same year also marked the start of Restoration Day, where citizens celebrated the formal establishment of the New Republic Senate, as well as the General Ministry and the Court of Justice. This whole event was a way of celebrating the re-establishment of democracy in the system. This may not be a complete list of every holiday in Star Wars, but we thought it'd be fun to shed some light on celebrations that were being held in the Star Wars universe that you could think about while you were celebrating in our galaxy. We hope that everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and may this Sithmas bring you all the power you ever wanted.